What's going on, Pats Nation? It's been a while, but I'm back. I'm finally back tonight. I'm up here with my boy, Draft Analyst, Walter Stranger, man, from the East West Football Network. How you doing, bro?
Man, I'm great. I'm great, man. Can't call it to the most part. Know y'all ready for this draft up there in New England. Y'all had a lot go on this off season so far, man.
Bro, who you telling, man? It's a lot going on. We got a month to the draft. Still got a month. We literally about 4 months, 4 weeks from the draft. So and it's a big draft for the Patriots. If you're a Patriots fan, if you're listening, it's a big draft for the Patriots. First time we've been drafting this high. So now we ain't got to sit around and wait. We used to win the Super Bowls and get into the AFC Championship game. Now finally we ain't got to wait 2 or 3 hours to see who we gonna pick in the draft. We get to wait. We gonna find out who the Patriots gonna pick with the top 3 pick, the top 5 pick within the first 30 minutes of the draft. So I got my boy Water on night. We're gonna go over this draft. We got a mock draft. You got us taking Jayden Daniels with the third pick. Why do you got us going with Jayden?
I actually got y'all trading back. I think y'all sitting in a
Yeah,
position at 3. Y'all hot money right there. I think it's kind of the sweet spot. It's a foregone conclusion. The Bears ain't moving now. They got rid of Justin Fields. Um, to me, Caleb Williams is by far the number 1 quarterback in this class. So it pretty much is a foregone conclusion that it's Caleb Williams to Chicago. That is what it is. Washington, don't know. We know what the Commanders organization has been like. They've had some blunders in the past. I think last time they had the number 2 overall pick, they took Robert Griffin III and Andrew Luck went number 1 overall, which isn't a good omen for them for the most part. But yeah, I think you guys are sitting good because you got a lot of holes. And this is just me
yeah.
speaking from the outside looking in New England. I'm a Detroit Lions fan, but I follow all 32 teams as closely as possible, and the draft is what I do. You guys got a lot of holes on that team. You're sitting in a good situation where you can either sit there at 3. Now, do you want to be in a situation where you're left taking the third best quarterback, or do you want to move up to number 2? Because I think the thing is, if Washington wants to move out of 2, you guys are sitting there where you got the best opportunity because it won't cost y'all
Mhm.
much of anything to move up 1 spot. And it's not like you're an NFC opponent of Washington where they're going to overtax y'all to move up. People talk about the Giants want to move up. You really think the Commanders aren't going to tax the hell out of Washington? They're not
He
going to just
is.
hand you. They're not going to just hand you a quarterback. But
Right.
or if you guys decided to say, you know what, Caleb with number 1 overall, whoever New England's top quarterback is after Caleb Williams, let's say he goes to Washington. Do you want to stay at 3 and take somebody you really don't want?
And see, yeah, that's my thing right there. If you're picking 3, you're getting the third best quarterback probably. Now we've seen in years past the third best quarterback can be pretty good or whatnot. Just because he's going number 1 don't mean he's going to lead the light the word of and be the best quarterback this coming season. Does not mean that. So I mean, for me, my take is I went down to the combine, seen Drake May, seen Jay there. I know they didn't work out or whatnot. Met Drake May or whatnot at the airport. I think from what I'm hearing right now from my people is Drake May is the leader in the clubhouse right now for that third pick. Now lately, JJ Mcarthy has been coming on. We just talked about this pre-show or whatnot. JJ McCarthy's been coming on. Jayden Daniel just had his pro day today, and for what I've seen, he lit the world on fire. Him, with Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas. So I mean, Washington with that second pick, I think they're gonna go Jayden, and I think on the board at number 3. Now the question is for the Patriots: Are you leading your pick? Do you want to go with the third best quarterback in Drake May, or do you just want to trade those pick back? Because Minnesota, like, they're gonna be aggressive and try to trade up for somebody. Who they might want McCarthy, they might want May. Who knows who they might even try to trade up with Washington to get on Jayden Daniels. So do you take the picks or do you go ahead and get the quarterback? I don't want them just to take a quarterback just because they need
Just
a
for the hell
quarterback.
of taking one.
Bingo. Yeah, I don't want to just take it just because they need a quarterback. If you make sure your conviction is right. If you really want the guy, get him. If you think he can win Super Bowls for you, get you to the AFC Championship game and win some division titles, because you got to look at it. You're in the division with Miami, Tua. They're not going to win no
Yeah.
time soon. You got Buffalo, Josh Allen. They kind of rebuild a little bit, but they still got a quarterback. They got Diggs. They got a decent defense. McDermott's still there. Then you look at the Jets. Rodgers, he's going to be back this season. He should be healthy. They got Tyron Smith, Mike Williams. They got a good defense. Bill Belichick's not there no more, so now it's up for you. Like you got to change the culture now for the Patriots or whatnot. So I don't think. I mean, we signed Jacoby Brissett, but is Jacoby is fans signing up to come see Jacoby Brissett play? And do you want to see Brissett throwing the Malik Neighbors? And you don't want to see that. You won't. I think you need to go ahead and get your quarterback and just take the gamble and roll with Drake May and see what he can do.
Well, I mean, I think y'all dating now, and y'all haven't been in the dating pool in 20 years. So like
Right.
y'all
It's
in the
new. It's
dating
new
pool.
territory. New territory.
You don't want to appear desperate though. That's the whole thing. You brought up Minnesota from my neck of the woods, NFC North. Minnesota's desperate now. You don't want to be desperate. And I called out Minnesota just to comment on them for a second because you made a nice comparison there. I said 3 years ago that Minnesota was kicking the can down the road a little too far. And by the time it was all said and done, they might end up left out in the cold. And that's kind of what's happened. Now, Minnesota could find themselves in the division with Jared Goff and a loaded Lions team over the next few years. Jordan Love, if he keeps trending up in the Green Bay Packers. And what if Caleb Williams turns out to be a legit real deal with the Bears? So now you're a Vikings team that's kind of left out in the cold, and you brought up New England in a situation where Josh ain't going nowhere. Like Josh is a mutant. Josh is one of those physical quarterbacks that can throw the football till he's 45. May not be able to, physically move around like that anymore. But Aaron Rodgers, y'all got maybe 2 years to deal with Aaron Rodgers with the Jets. Aaron ain't gonna be around that much longer. And I'm not as big on Tua as a lot of other people. I don't view him as the threat some people view him as. So I think if y'all get a legit quarterback, y'all right back in the mix. Right back in the
Yeah,
mix.
but you can't do that quarterback what you did with Matt Jones. Matt Jones, he's in
No.
Jacksonville now. And he didn't have an offensive line. He had Devontae Parker as his best wide receiver. Kendrick Bourne, okay receiver, but you're not losing sleep over Kendrick Bourne. DeMar Pot Douglas, he kind of rose. He's a 6th-round rookie, a six-round pick last year. So you need to get weapons. We know, it's a long-term rebuild for the Patriots. You're not going to be able to solidify all your holes the first year. But I think if you get that quarterback, we've seen with the Chiefs with Mahomes, that quarterback makes these other players better. Or do you want to build it like San Francisco and kind of like how Detroit built it? Get the pieces to the puzzle first and then get the main part, get the quarterback. Look at Brock Purdy now. Look at Jared Goff. Y'all went to the NFC Championship game this past season. So do you want to just throw the quarterback in or just want to start with the quarterback? That's going to be the question for the Patriots going forward in this year's draft. Me personally, I think Drake May, I think his floor, I think I heard his floor is more like a Daniel Jones. I've seen a floor of him. And I think he can be as good as Justin Herbert, maybe even Josh Allen. But I don't think he's ready to play right now. I think he's still raw. But I don't think Jacoby Brissett going to be lighting the world up on fire. And if Drake May is playing, I'm assuming we take Drake May next month in the draft. If he's lights out better than Jacoby Brissett and training camp, OTAs, mini camp, I think you got to go with Drake May.
Yeah, I'm not really the biggest Drake May fan. I've watched a lot of Drake May. And before I get into like him as a prospect, I look at the fact that okay, it's been bad play from him. There was bad play from Sam Howell over the past couple, not necessarily the last 2 years in North Carolina, but the last year in North Carolina, he battled through a lot of issues, scheme wise, route tree wise, as far as the schemes they came up with, losing a lot of players on offense. Neither one of those dudes got better at North Carolina. And that's what's weird to me is that, Drake May came in as a big time recruit, could have went almost anywhere in the country, chose to stay in Carolina, the state of Carolina, went to North Carolina, didn't see him get better. He regressed. He had 24 touchdowns to 7 interceptions, or was it 24 touchdowns to 9 picks this year? His last couple of games of the season were very, very alarming. You look at the fact that just him as a prospect, when you compare him to Jayden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Bo Nix. Bo Nix is kind of unfair, and Bo Nix has played about 15 years of college football. And Jayden played a lot of college football too. But I think a lot of the issues that you see from Drake May that show up on film comes from poor coaching. It seems like they just allowed him and Sam Howell, for that matter, when he was there, to just go out there and just gun it, just do whatever. If you look at him from his footwork, the inconsistency with his footwork, the way he
That's what I
spins
was
the
going to
foot.
ask you about his foot. Do you think his foot? Do you think that can be fixed, or that's probably going to take time? Because a lot of people saying that if you draft him, he got to sit for a year or two. That's what Daniel Lawson
Yeah,
said.
it's fixable, but it's tough because how many of these dudes are fixable? Like we heard that there was horrible footwork with Patrick Mahomes, and the arm angles and the inconsistencies in the passing game with him, and the recklessness. In order for you to turn a guy around, he has to willingly want to be turned around. Everybody ain't Patrick Mahomes mentally, and everybody's not walking into a system with Andy Reid in a Kansas City Chiefs organization that has been one of the most well-ran organizations since the 90s. When I first started out watching football, they've always been a very well-ran organization, drafted well, developed well, signed well in free agency. But to me, there's too many red flags with Drake May. There's too many with him right now. I understand Armstead. I don't even think he fits into the Justin Herbert, Josh Allen comparisons. I think both of those dudes were complete freaks out there in college. I understand Josh Allen went to Wyoming, but when I watched Josh Allen at Wyoming, he still made the most out of it. You can tell some guys have always been the best player on their team. Josh Allen was the best player on his high school team. He was the best player on his JUCO team. He was the best player at Wyoming. And now he's in a situation in Buffalo to his detriment. He's always been leaned on to carry his football teams. I don't view Drake May as that. Like I said, when I look at the sloppiness in the footwork, the amount of layups he misses, that's the key thing. He misses a lot of reads. He's inconsistent in going through his progressions. And there's too many bonehead plays I see for him on the field also. And then even like I said, when he completes these passes, I don't see him throw people open a lot. I don't see him really layer the football a lot either. It's just something that I think I'm going to say this one thing. I think when it comes to Drake May, it's hard for a lot of draft people to reshape their draft boards in February or March. A lot of people, the people who had Drake May as number 2 overall, mainly were the same people who had Drake number 2 overall last June. And rarely do those people draft boards change. But to go through his film and say that this guy's better than Jayden Daniels or this guy's better than Bo Nix, even though I'm not the biggest Bo Nix fan, Bo Nix played lights out a year ago.
Yeah,
so did Michael Penix
Jr. Older prospect.
Yeah, definitely. But I'm just saying for y'all, man, and then I think Jayden can get himself out of trouble a little bit more. I think he's better suited for y'all. I think if you take Drake May and all his deficiencies and just throw him out there week 1, hey, we got ourselves a quarterback, everybody.
What you feel the knock on Jayden is? Because I'm hearing from some people he don't like to throw in the middle of the field. He don't have the arm strength, to throw that tight spiral. Now, you look at the highlight, you look at some of the film, he throws a pretty deep ball. That's a nice form. But I don't really see him threatening the middle of the field, throwing that tight window. Like, if it's 38, can he make that clutch throw in a tight window, a tight spiral? I've seen Drake May. I've seen a lot of film. I've seen him do it. Haven't really seen that much. And then you look at Drake May. He really wasn't playing with a lot of talent at UNC. You go to JJ McDaniel, you got Brian Thomas. You got, I think the third receiver's Lacey. You got Neighbors. You got talent all around you. So, I mean, some would say Jayden Daniel, he should have looked good with everything he had around him.
But Jayden, think about it though. Like LSU has always had big time receivers. The only two to actually make a lot of it and win Heisman's was Joe Burrow and Jayden Daniels. And I think one knock on Jayden is the fact he's old. By NFL standards, he's old. Everybody seems to be biased against the older quarterback coming into the league, and then they wonder, well, why did it take you so long to develop? And yeah, he developed, but look at that system he played in at LSU. And I think that's a big issue too, because people bring up the same questions about Jared Goff. He doesn't throw in the middle of the field. If you look at LSU, they're mainly, and they do a great job of spreading the ball out offensively with the receivers. They're mainly a boundary attacking offense, mainly outside the hashes. They don't really go too much across the middle of the field. They did, but typically when they did, it was kind of a short dig to Neighbors, some option routes and whips to Neighbors or whatnot. Then maybe they'll attack outside with Brian Thomas. But I get it. You didn't see it. They feel like they didn't see enough from him in that offense. Okay, well, he did this, he did that. He can go from 0 to 60 real quick when it comes to turning a 5-yard loss, or what should be a 5-yard loss, into a 70-yard touchdown. But, at the end of the day, there's questions about all these dudes' offenses. I've been saying that for years. These collegiate offenses, they do not do the best job of insinuating what these guys do the best. I said the same thing about Shedeur Sanders. I was watching the Shador Sanders Oregon film from a couple of days ago, they never required him to attack the middle of the field. Never. And then most of the time, whenever there was split coverages that Oregon would run, they always drew the play up passing wise to go away from whatever side of the at least whatever side of the coverage was the most exotic. So wherever he had man coverage, that's always where he would go. And if it was off zone, he for damn sure was going to the off zone. So it's weird, man. I think when it comes to these quarterbacks, you have to throw a lot of that out the way, because when it comes down to it, we can evaluate physical traits all we want. We can look at stats. We can look at what you did against top 25 competition. What did you do against this team or that team? At the end of the day, we have no idea how mentally these dudes are wired. Can they handle the pressure?
Yeah. Do you think tomorrow, Drake made pro days tomorrow around about lunchtime, 1 o'clock tomorrow. Do you think there's anything that he can do to improve on what his negatives or his cons? Or do you think there's anything he can show tomorrow? Because we've seen in the last couple of days, all the hype is going on McCarthy. Then you got Jayden Daniels, Caleb Williams last week. Everybody knows he's going to Chicago. So you think there's anything that he can do tomorrow tomorrow, maybe everybody might be on Drake May tomorrow. What you think about that?
Maybe ace the interviews.
Yeah.
I think by the time we reach pro days, man, we done seen so much film with these dudes. We done seen the Senior Bowl. We done seen the East Shrine. We seen the Combine. Me, honestly, I don't really give a damn about pro days, bro. I've been saying that for a while. Like, if your film is bad, especially as a quarterback, because pro days are all scripted for you to benefit. The amount of throws, the throws that are really your strengths.
Yeah, shorts and t-shirts.
You throw shorts and t-shirts, no weather elements. You throwing the wide receivers that you've been throwing to for the last 2-3 years, in some cases 4 years. If your tape is bad, there's not a damn thing you can show me at the pro day to make me say, damn, screw that bad tape. I'm good with this. I can't. Right. You should be great at your pro day. Let's be honest. When was the last time you heard about a quarterback having a bad pro day?
Man, I think Sam Darnold a couple years ago, I think he had a few misses. Was it Sam Darnold? Was it Teddy Bridgewater? Probably. It was somebody. I remember a couple.
The Bridgewater draft, they kept talking about his hands and the gloves. Why is he wearing gloves? He's indoors.
Right.
They made a big deal about his hand size and all that. But
I mean, I do think in your pro days, shorts and you should ball out in your pro days and whatnot. You should.
You at home?
Yeah, right. You at home
your
with your receivers.
Facility.
Yeah, you already know what's going on. You should ball out in your pro days.
Yeah. Your coaches.
That's my take. I want to get into a couple of these receivers you have us taking your mock draft. You got Ricky Pearsall at the round 2, pick 36. I like him from Florida. I like Pearsall. And then you guys taking Malachi McCoy round 4, pick 103. Real quick on Pearsall, what's a good comp for him?
Ricky Pearsall? Another Ricky Pro. I think he's a Ricky Pro clone. For those of y'all out there who may not know who Ricky Pro is, Google NFC Championship touchdown, Ricky Prohl. He's the guy that caught that one of the greatest throws in NFL history. I keep pounding the table for that throw. To me, that Kurt Warner throw to Ricky Prohl was way better than the Joe Montana to Dwight Clark. Way better.
I don't think he'll go in that second round though, Pearsall. I think he's a day 3 pick, Ricky Pearsall. I like his film, but I just don't.
The league like him.
Yeah,
the league like him a lot. I mean, I think there's still a space for those 6'3", 200-pound wide receivers, 6'2", 200-pound wide receivers that do everything well. I think Ricky ran good enough. The hands are there. The route running's there. And he proved at the Senior Bowl that he was uncoverable. He was one of those 3 receivers that was damn near uncoverable. Him,
right.
Javon Baker of UCF, Jamari Thrash of Louisville, and Malachi Corley. Well, yeah, Malachi Corley was another guy that was.
I was just about to mention him, man. He's a stud. He's nice. He's a little bit undersized, but he can play. He's a yard at the catch. He's nice at the catch. Really,
he's a weapon.
Yeah,
he's a weapon. And when I did this mock draft for y'all, I said, okay, you know what? If they take, or if I mock Jayden Daniels to them, what do I do to make sure Jayden Daniels becomes better? You give him a security blanket in Ricky Pearsall, a receiver that he can depend on, a possession receiver. And you give him a guy like Malachi Corley who played predominantly in the slot.
But with us taking Malachi, I do feel we kind of jumbled up at that Z and slot position. You got Pop Douglas, Bourne, We just signed KJ Osborne. Taquan Thornton really ain't came on yet. So I think we need that big X receiver. I had us taking AD Mitchell. He might be gone by the second round, but I think we need an X. We got a bunch of slot. I think we need that outside dog that can help the quarterback. That's what I feel we need.
The right outside dog. And if that's the case, take Marvin Harrison Jr. then at 3.
Who gonna throw it to him?
That's the problem. And I keep bringing that. That's the problem. Like, y'all got so many. You can look at, and I love Joe Alt. I think Joe Alt is going to be an
all-pro
for
take
years.
Joe. We can't. But come on.
But okay. So, but that's the point that I'm trying to make. So, you love Marvin Harrison Jr., potential generational receiver. Can't take him at number 3. You love Joe Alt. Could be a potential all-pro left tackle. Can't take him at 3. You need running back. No. Cornerback. I think y'all pretty decent at cornerback. Y'all proven to be able to grow some guys, and then y'all hit the jackpot with Christian Gonzalez, I think, a year ago.
That's the one position we can draft well is corner.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think in New England's case, and me and you've been going back and forth for this for a couple months now. I've been in favor of y'all trading back. I just think that if you look at the Lions' approach, the year that we drafted Penei Sewell at 7th overall, there's a lot of other guys we could have took. We was fresh off of a bad record. We had just traded away Matthew Stafford. We had Jared Goff, brought him in. Nobody believed in him. We could have went all in on the quarterback. Brad Holmes and this regime chose to make Penei Sewell their very first draft pick. And a lot of people said, why in the hell? You're the Detroit Lions. The cupboard is bare. Why in the hell would you take a tackle? Mm-hmm. Because that's what we built our rebuild off of. Now, Penei Sewell is borderline number 1, number 2 tackles in all of football, pound for pound. And we've been able to build extensively around him. The running back position has been upgraded with him there. We already had an all-pro center, and Frank Ragnow will help things out a lot. We struck gold on Amon-Ra St. Brown in the 5th round. Jameson Williams. So we steadily built. But I think a lot of fans, you can understand this. A lot of fans want to see, with the very first draft, they want the rebuild done. Like they want everybody drafted. And that's not, be patient. We went from 3-13-1 to 9 wins, 9-8 to 12-4, 12-5 in the NFC Championship. So it can be done if the fan base just has a little bit of patience.
Man, let's get into JJ Mcarthy right quick, man, before I let you go. What you make of all the hype? He has a pro day. What was it, Friday? Was it last Friday? He has a pro day the other day?
I believe it was last Friday.
Yeah, he has a pro day. A lot of scouts, reps with there, man. Now all the hype. He went from potentially being a day 2 pick in the 2nd round to now he's probably getting picked probably in top 10. I've heard top 5. I think Matt Miller came. Yeah.
The thirst is real for them quarterbacks, man.
The last mock I seen the Patriots taking him with that 3rd overall pick. Me, I'm not a big McCarthy fan. Everybody know I'm a Drake May fan. But they got us taking JJ McCarthy with the 3rd pick. I think that's too high for him, man. I think he's going to end up in Minnesota.
We don't know, man. Like it's crazy because, and I told you this yesterday, man. Don't believe nothing that you hear from the media right now. We don't know who they want. We don't know who Washington wants. I think we got a pretty good idea on who the Bears want. It would stun me if they took any quarterback other than Caleb Williams, honestly. And that's my dog barking and talking. My wife probably coming in, but yeah. 3. No, didn't Blake Bortles go number 3 overall?
Yep, same scenario.
It's like the reaching, man. Is when you desperate, you desperate. That's why I made the dating reference earlier in the show. Like, y'all as New England, y'all out here in the dating pool, but you don't want to appear desperate. Don't be out here just giving it away to everybody. Don't let the rest of these teams around the league think that y'all easy. Oh, the Patriots desperate. They'll take anything.
I can see
that's what Minnesota about to do. Minnesota making themselves look desperate. And if they trade 2 first-round picks to get JJ McCarthy, man.
But think about it. If they do get him, that's a West Coast scheme. You got Jordan Addison, one of my favorites from last year in the draft, Justin Jefferson, Hawkinson. They got Hawkinson from Detroit. I know that kind of.
Justin gonna be there long term?
If they get
we've heard the Cincinnati Bengals rumors.
I don't think he goes there. He wants a lot of money and Jamar Chase. I do think they will get rid of Higgins though. So maybe, but I can't see it. But I think that's not a bad spot for McCarthy if they move up to get him. I can see that working there, man. He has an arm. You playing in a dome. You got a Detroit
offensive-minded head coach.
Yeah, so that's it. You got two teams in your own division. You play it indoors. He's not too far from Minnesota playing at Michigan. I think he's from Illinois, I believe. I think McCarthy and
No,
Minnesota with those
JJ
weapons.
from here.
He's from Detroit. He's from Michigan.
Yeah, I think was it Farmington Hills, Michigan? I think
I
or
thought it
was
was
it or
Illinois. I might
Beverly,
got to go
Michigan?
back and check that. I thought it was Illinois. But
Hmm.
nevertheless, you get him in the dome in Minnesota with those weapons. I think he could look real good, man. I think that's a good fit for him going to Minnesota in that division. I think I heard some early day, with the Bears, they going with Caleb Williams. So I think last year Chicago, they looked at division. You got Jordan Love, you got Jared Goff. Who knows what Minnesota going to do? So they want to get better. They went out and they got a quarterback and get Caleb Williams because you got to be able to compete nowadays in the division. All 14 in the division, they going for, they know they got to have a quarterback, got to have a franchise quarterback. And I think if you can put JJ McCarthy with the Minnesota Vikings, I think that's a great fit for him. I hope the Patriots don't pick him because he don't have much to work with. And we didn't see him do much when he was at Michigan. I think I heard Washington. I could see him going to Washington. They do got some weapons, and watch out for the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be in Minnesota's position because you have to take a quarterback this year because next year's class kind of stinks.
Terrible.
I mean, you're talking about, out of all due respect, right now, I think the quarterbacks in next year's class have way more flaws. There's no Caleb. There's no Jayden. I think if Caleb Williams, Jayden Daniels, maybe even Drake May to a lesser extent were in next year's class. If JJ, that's why the whole talk around here in Michigan was JJ should have went back. And he could have been the number one pick next year.
Cool.
Because next year you're talking about Quinn Ewers, who can never stay healthy.
Who else coming out? Now you got Shador, you got
Shador, Carson Beck. It's a lot of older quarterbacks next year. It's a lot of the
What's
super
the guy
seniors.
from Penn
Grayson
State? Is he
McCall.
Yeah.
Drew Aller.
Yeah, I like what I've seen for him this past year.
Yeah,
but
it's nothing like this year. So if you're Minnesota, like I said, you waited for so damn long. You kept kicking the can down the road. I said this 3 years ago, down the road, and they was going to eventually find themselves in a situation where they were going to be a year away from a terrible quarterback class, and they were forced to draft one. Now the thing is with Minnesota, if you want to trade up, you better trade up with Washington. You better jump New England. Because if you're going to trade up, don't trade up on some BS. Trade up to go get who you really want to get. But if Washington doesn't want to move, what they going to do? Like they got a lot of draft capital, bro. They got a lot of issues on their team. I think
the draft starts with Washington at number 2. I think at the draft, everybody knows Chicago. I think the draft starts with Washington. Whatever they do, it's going to set up the rest of the draft, especially the quarterbacks anyway.
Yeah. I think Washington's in a situation too. Don't be surprised if they trade somebody, a McLaurin or somebody, because I think they want to overall haul of that team. They want to get as far, even though Terry McLaurin doesn't have a damn thing to do with the Daniel Snyder situation. I think they want to get as far away from the stench of that regime as possible. Trading damn near your whole defensive line was a little weird. They still got my boy there, Jonathan Allen. They need corners. They need some safety help.
They need some corners.
They still need edge rusher, linebacker help. Offensive line for damn sure they could use a running back. But
they got Robinson. They still got Robinson at running back. Yeah.
Didn't Robinson leave? I know Gibson left. I know Gibson left.
We picked up Gibson. Patriots got signed Gibson, but they got Robinson. Brian Robinson, I believe, from Alabama. I think they still got him.
Yeah. So, I mean, y'all not desperate. Y'all don't have to be desperate. I just think that
it's a 2-3 year rebuild.
Yeah. It can be done if you start hitting on some picks. Now, if you look at our situation, in our case, we hit on a lot of players. That's what you really need to happen. And, you can't sanction that. You have no idea when you draft these dudes. Damn, we drafted 7 players and 5 of them turned out to play significant roles for us as rookies.
The draft we had last year was
we had 3 straight years of
3rd
and 4th round picks playing a ton of snaps for us and being successful. You need a lot of luck in that too. Nobody's that damn great of a GM or a scout. Like you need some of that to happen. You need some luck in your favor. But like I said, for you guys, for y'all situation, and we don't know what's going on with Gerard Mayo either. Like what's the offense going to be?
Don't even know who the GM is yet.
Yeah, but Jayden is a guy that can make plays on his own. Drake needs a lot of help and a lot of work. I think the biggest mistake is to take him in that film that I saw for 2 years at Carolina and throw that out there on day one because he's gonna play.
And
Let's be
then
real
one
about
thing
it.
for sure, he gonna bring some excitement to New England. They haven't really had it in a while since Brady left. Drake May can scramble out the pocket too, but Jayden he can create for his own. He's mainly he's a passer, but he can run it too. Bring some excitement, but
He's a
it's gonna be very
playmaker.
interesting. Yeah, he's a big playmaker. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens in a month, man. Well, next month right this time we'll know who what the Patriots do, and we just gonna have to see what happens from there. Last but not least, man, before we get out here for the night. Give me your sleeper pick for the draft, man? Somebody that's going shock the world in the round one. Just a sleeper pick. It could be a player or a team.
Trying to think just off the top of my head, man. I'm gonna go with the Detroit Lions for a second in their situation. No, I'm gonna say that because I'm gonna tie this to a position group where a lot of people outside of us probably figure we don't need any help. There's an offensive tackle, left tackle, was considered a generational talent a year ago from the University of Penn State. That's Olu Fashanu. Would have been the youngest player in last year's draft.
He's right tackle. Is he right? He's right tackle or left tackle?
Left. Would have been the number one tackle off the board a year ago had he came out. I think he stuck around. Well, whatever reason he went back, he went back. He stuck around a little too long. And when you go back to college, they start finding stuff wrong with you. They start finding reasons to not like you and other people they like better. But Fashanu's a guy that I've seen slip a lot. Am I buying it? No. I think Fashanu's still going to be either tackle 1 or tackle 2. Depending on what you need. Some teams may not need a left tackle. They may need a right tackle and may go for a Talise Fuaga from Oregon State for that matter. But Fashanu is a guy that there's word out of here in Detroit that offensive line, guard is a need, tackles a need, considering
I
the
did
fact
have a
that
couple injuries going into that championship game last year.
Decker's entering the last year of his contract. He's north of 30. He's been kind of injured. And this team believes, and they've said it repeatedly, Brad Holmes has said, this is a draft where we're not desperate. We can take best player available and sit them for a year if we need to. I think Olu Fashanu is a guy that's worth the risk. If he starts falling 15, 16, 17, and Detroit decides to move up for offensive lineman, because the temptation of having another potential generational talent at tackle and being able to keep Penei Sewell at right tackle as the best right tackle in football and having a potentially elite left tackle guy in Olu Fashanu is something I think this team values a lot, and he wouldn't have to play immediately. He can sit behind the Taylor Decker for a year, learn the position, because Decker's not going to get another contract. I'm pretty sure. We're all pretty sure here. You play Decker out for 1 year, and then you insert Fashanu at the age of 22 years old, and then you roll forward with that. Outside of that, I think the wide receiver is a position group where once the top guys start falling, you could see somebody take a chance on somebody that nobody's talking about. Xavier Worthy, while I believe he's a better football player than a Marquise Brown, Henry Ruggs, and I loved Henry Ruggs coming out of Alabama. Who else? Another one of those short, fast guys that everybody was drafting. Rondale Moore.
Yeah, Rondale Moore.
Yeah. Dude, the temptation of having a Xavier Worthy out there within any offense is very tempting. I couldn't see him going past the Chiefs, honestly. The Chiefs are kind of in a situation where they can do whatever the hell they want to do. Rashee Rice is a hell of a receiver. I think he's going to be.
Please don't let them get Xavier Worthy. Please don't let them.
Well, you know what? They got Marquise Brown. What if they trade up for Marvin Harrison Jr.?
I got a feeling something like that's going to happen too. They can't. Who they got? They got Hollywood. They got Rashee Rice. I want to pass the draft Rice last year. They got some guys, man. Like, just think about what they did the past 2 years. They won the Super Bowl. They traded Tyreek to Miami 2 years ago, I think. Yeah, 2 years ago. Won the Super Bowl with Juju Smith-Schuster as their best wide receiver. He's now with the Patriots, and probably he's not. Don't get me started on him. They don't won the Super Bowl 2 years in a row with nobody, a bunch of nobodies at wide receiver. Really, they only gonna get better.
Yeah, I get it. That's why I'm not really in favor of taking a receiver at 3, unless it's Calvin Johnson. And I love Marvin Harrison Jr. Love him as a prospect. I think he's the number 1 receiver in his class. Love Malik Neighbors. Calvin Johnson was an anomaly. When you get that type of player with that type of athleticism, he was nicknamed Megatron for a reason. That's different. But even in the Lions situation that year, we took Calvin number 2 overall because he was the best player on pretty much everybody's board. We didn't have a quarterback. We took a receiver number 2 overall, and we didn't win a damn thing with him. Yeah, Calvin had a bunch of ESPN highlights, Sports Center highlights, or whatnot, but we sucked. We went 0-16.
You don't just
we
take
went
the wide
0-16.
right.
Exactly. We went 0-16 with the wide receiver. We took number 2 overall. So staying at number 3, taking a receiver, I think would be idiotic, especially when y'all can trade out. If Caleb goes number 1, and let's say Drake May is the top quarterback on New England's board, and he's gone at number 2, or Jayden, whoever it may be, don't stay there and take a receiver. There's too much value in that number 3 spot for y'all to stay there and take a receiver, or even a tackle for that matter. Trade back, accumulate more picks, let Gerard Mayo build his roster out the way he wants to, and then move ahead from there. Even though I'm not as high on next year's QB class as some people may be, who knows? We could be sitting there next February or March talking about, damn, this guy's great.
And sometimes these guys, they come out of nowhere. I mean, like, we didn't hear about Jayden Daniels until the last couple months of the season.
Went to LSU. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, sometimes these guys come out of nowhere, man. Hey, well, I appreciate you joining me tonight, man. I know it's been a while since I've been live on the Kansas Patriots podcast. Fans had a bunch of viewers tonight. I appreciate all y'all. Couldn't get to all the comments. Hey, but make sure y'all, like, if y'all watching on YouTube, make sure you like the video. Facebook, make sure you like it, comment, and share. And once again, I'll be back live tomorrow night, man. Appreciate you again, Walt.
For sure, man. Do it every time you need me, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.